Thank you all. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to all of you joining us from Ethiopia, Colombia, and Honduras and beyond. It's my pleasure to welcome you to today's EthioLatin Community of Practice webinar titled Carbon Credits for Empowering Coffee Producers, Experiences from Ethiopia, Colombia, and Honduras. This webinar brings us together to explore how carbon credit initiatives can create meaningful opportunities for smallholder women coffee producers, especially in the face of growing climate change challenges. The main objectives of today's webinar are: one, to introduce the fundamentals of carbon credits and climate finance in the coffee sector. Second, highlight successful and ongoing initiatives from our three focus countries, Ethiopia, Colombia, and Honduras. And third, foster ongoing South-South knowledge exchange among our partners in Latin America and here in Ethiopia. So this initiative builds directly on the foundations laid by the Women Coffee and Climate Project, as you all remember, which over the past 2 years has worked to empower women coffee producers in Ethiopia through gender-responsive climate adaptation. Today's webinar is the first in a series of quarterly webinars. We'll be holding quarterly webinars under the EthioLatinCoffee Community of Practice for this project called the Carbon Credits in the Coffee Sector Project. These webinars will serve as a regional and global platform for continued learning, exchange, and collaboration. Allow me to take a moment to express our deepest appreciation to the Spanish Corporation for their continued support, without which this important initiative would not be possible. I would also like to warmly acknowledge and thank our partners and presenters who have joined us today. From Colombia, we are honored to be working with EthioLatinCoffee and grateful for participation of Johnny Fernando Lopez, who will share. A special thank you to Nelson Omar for facilitating this exchange, and to Sofia Rodels, Executive Director of Afro Cafe Foundation, for joining us to share the Honduran experience in supporting women farmers through carbon markets. And of course, from Ethiopia, we look forward to the presentation from Dr. Johannes, who is a climate expert for the Carbon Credit in the Coffee Sector project, this project that we are currently running, who will share opportunities and challenges in mainstreaming climate finance in the coffee sector. To all our speakers, thank you for your time, your expertise, and commitment to empowering women and transforming the coffee sector through innovation and sustainability. With that, let us begin today's journey of sharing, learning, and collaboration. Thank you so much. Okay, while Dr. Nas is trying to connect, I think we can go to the next presenter. Over to you, Johnny, please.
I'm Johnny Fernando Lopez. I'm from Colombia, and we're leading the biggest project on agroforestry coffee projects. And we'd like to invite all the women that wants to participate in this initiative, because it's a very interesting initiative, because they combine impact generation to reduce carbon emissions. This is for all the communities that need it. So we have a company called Great, we're ready. Good morning, everyone. I am Johnny Fernando Lopez, and today I would like to provocate regarding the opportunities for women coffee producers in the world. This is my presentation, and here we want to show that the incentive that we are developing worldwide. For that, we have naming coffee, carbon, and global connection. When we talk about this initiative, we want to connect coffee, that is an universal value, to the climate change. We want to make this emphasis with nature. And we want to say that this is not only for Colombia, that we want to do this globally. So our presentation, we want to introduce and present a Latin American case that we are developing in Latin America, and that it could be scalable to different areas of the world. So our context, it's coffee. We are focused in the Cauca region. Cauca is the second coffee producer in Colombia. So this region has about 96,000 hectares of coffee, and Cauca has a big positioning on quality standards. Much of this production is going to very renowned companies such as Starbucks, etc. They are operating in Cauca, and this shows the quality of this coffee coming from Cauca. So in Colombia, we have women associations where about 500 women are part of this initiative. What are our challenges? Our challenges is that we have monocultures, and here there's a big high risk of deforestation. And the European Union, for example, they started implementing this European Green Deal, and where they demand that the exportations coming in or importations coming into Europe shouldn't have any deforestation. So this is a regulation that is very important and that is going to start worldwide. There are other important elements in Latin America that we need to take into account. In South America, we know that is one of the biggest areas in that are deforested. So how can we take into account all this nexus? In Colombia, each year we are losing 170,000 hectares of forest every year. So what do we want to do today? We want to show a replicable model. So we want to take this model from Colombia to other places. Today, we're analyzing more than 300,000 hectares, and this can be expanded and replicable to other countries such as Ethiopia. So we want to know how this can help other areas. We have developed a pilot project. This project has an area of 36,000 hectares in agroforestry and forestry systems. I will explain more about this later. So this project is establishing the highest quantity of CO2. This is 8 million of carbon emissions in 20 years. This is a very promising figure compared to the worldwide carbon products that exist. So there are other projects that you can also be connected to them. But this is one of the biggest agroforestry carbon projects with 8 million tons in 20 years. So there is a potential revenue generation through selling coffee, and this can be connected to selling wood, coffee, and carbon credits. This will give an extra strength to the small hoarder producers. We are using very advanced technologies that is being incorporated in this project. These are named New Swan blockchain and remote sensoring. We have different partners from the private sector, the public sector, experts. We are also linked to very famous universities and as well as different companies such as Nodrisa, etc. They are our partners to make this possible. Within this structure, we found these parameters and values. So this is very important to establish at the beginning of the project in order to know if we're going to have an impact. So the area is 3,000 hectares. So we need to estimate that two, around 2,000 and 2,500 hectares will provide from women coffee producers. Secondly, then we have these 8 millions of emissions that we're gonna sequestrate, and this will generate around 3 million of USDs that will come back to improve the production systems. So this is very interesting in terms of revenue generating. We have combined different ways to generate new resources. And today we know that this company could bring 270 million of USD eventually to the region. So this is a very good way to combine wealth in this project. How does this project work? So we have 3 different areas. So we're talking about blockchain system. For those who don't know about this system, we are creating a system that can give trust for all the partners that are engaged in this process. We build trust among banks, among clients, so that they know every data can be traced and can be registered. So they trust this system. So what we want is that every player, every stakeholder that is interested to engage will trust and will verify, audit this information through the blockchain. So the technology we're using is called NOAA. Then we're also using remote sensoring. We're using drones and satellites to monitor how the production is evolving, and we are also digitization. We're doing the digitization of assets. So it's like we have a stock market asset, and our carbon credit can be transformed into a asset in this way. So the NOAA system that we are using is a high impact system that we're using. So how does it work? This is how we work. Uh, this is our methodology. So first we need to find the location where we want to operate. In this case will be Cauca. We selected 3,000 hectares. And then we make an analysis. These squares that you're seeing, it's a way to represent the satellite images that we have made about the area. Here we can identify where we find forest, cultivation, plantations, and pastures. Here we can interpret where can we create these assets. So then we use mathematical systems to generate models for the coffee plantation, for example. So through the coffee growing system, we can identify other assets that we can create. Maybe we can operate in pastures also and in forest. So we created the formulas that can give us an assessment over time. So what we want to do is to interpret what is the carbon sequestration capacity of our area. So what is the carbon reservoir that we can get and that we can use? How can we store this carbon? And here you can see that when we have a farm, we have different carbon reservoirs. First of all, we have our plantation. It doesn't matter the size of this plantation. It can be 1 hectare, 2 hectares, or 5 hectares. Maybe we can add it another capacity. Then we can identify the pastures where we can plant more trees and create more forest. So we can see how through the shade trees that we can add to our coffee plantation, we can generate more carbon. So the third step will be like adding forest around our plantations. We have among 40 to 60% of forest around our coffee plantation. So here we have an example where we only have coffee, when we have different forestal plantations and a forest. And then we can create a combined system, as you can see here in our screen. But what for? So what we want to do is that the coffee plantation starts sharing live or be combined with other shade trees and with other forests. Like this, we can create an harmonic ecosystem to avoid pests, and for example. So if we have also pastures like the one we can see on the right, we can have different plants that have a very interesting um, profile within the coffee plantation system. Thirdly, we could also have all the forest ecosystem integrated also to create a conservation process. This will be a complete system. If we analyze the Honduras system, this is what they're also doing there. They are combining the forest with pastures and with coffee. And this is very interesting when we talk about coffee and this combined system. Uh, we get a lot of uh, carbon conservation, about 150 um, carbon conservation. Also, we can have even more in Ethiopia. So we can create an effect that can be very positive generally. So all this process will translate into revenue. And so as I'm focusing in carbon topics, we are generating, with this system, we are generating about 20 or 24 millions of USD, which is related only to the carbon. So there are some markets that are already paying 20 USD for a carbon ton. So this could generate between 22 million of USD up to 100 millions of USD selling these carbon credits. So normally farms will be paid by tons of carbons that generate. Each ton can be paid around five from 5 to 20 USD. So this is very interesting to generate new income. So when we see these blue points, this is the evolution of the price. So we have a 20-year project, and this blue points represents the different carbon collecting process. So here we can see at the beginning, we get a very low amount of the carbon that we are collecting. This is mainly from the coffee system. This comes mainly from the coffee system. However, these assets that are like financial assets, we call them values, are very low at the beginning, but they will improve with time. This is something very innovative because we can we can generate more revenues. So we want to have more investments from different actors in this area. What are the impacts that we're generating linked to this exercise? First, we get a social impacts. It's very important that the owners of the carbon credits are the producers. They need to start doing this. They need to have a capacity of ownership of these carbon credits. And this has a very important social impact because this can generate jobs. The environmental impact is obvious. These 8 millions of carbon tons can have a very good impact economically and socially. And as regard of the economic impacts, we will have a diversification of resources. Another asset could be the wood that can generate also this carbon. This is very important to grow and in this sector. So that you understand that we're not alone on this, these are some of the products that they are being undertaken globally. We're talking about the Cauca project, but here you have different examples. In Peru, they're also combining cocoa with coffee in coffee shaded coffee. This is one of the biggest projects of Peru. In Mexico, they're also working on sustainable coffee and environmental friendly coffee. The projects of Brazil, um, this is the first project where we combine conservation. It's a Red Plus project with coffee. So this is an opportunity how we add value to coffee, not only regarding coffee, but also having a conservation and preservation of the nature. So they are having from 4 hectares of coffee, they're getting 7 hectares, around 7 hectares of forest. They're combining that. This is one of the most beautiful projects that exists. I know that in India also they have another project. They have the Tata Coffee, yeah, and also in Ethiopia there is another project. Here you have the codes, the ID, in case you want to collaborate with them or you want to know more about this project, you can check. So what do we want to do? So we want to replicate this initiative in Cauca and in other areas. In order to do that, what we propose is to have an activity of 36 months that becomes global. First, we're doing the pilot project in Cauca. We are doing some experiments to validate and to measure and using the technology to create the project. So together with Tecnicafe in Colombia, we have started to have a technological transfer, experimental technological transfer platforms. And any person interested on these can go to Tecnicafe and learn about it. This is a technology that we are developing so that everybody can use it. Secondly, we would like to find interested people that can replicate this model after we implemented it in Cauca. So maybe in Honduras or Ethiopia, they are interested in participating, and I would like to have many women that want to participate. um, we can teach them, like we can do some virtual trainings through EthioLatinCoffee, so that they can benefit for this knowledge sharing. So we would like to replicate this model. First, to create the agroforestry system to plant new trees, and then to add the pastures to combine it with the system. We would like to have all these three phases in one strategy, so that we have a sustainable agroforestry model. Today, we have some banks that are investing on this, and we can get resources for these projects. We have already 26 millions of USD to be invested in this project. We are collecting more funds, but I would like to expand these projects and participate with other areas. This is the message that we want to convey here. In order to create a participative model, I'm giving you an action element here. So this is what I wanted to show you. Each person that wants to participate and understand how its coffee parcel can be analyzed to participate in this carbon system. Here you can scan the QR code to know how to start, how to begin. So here you can see how your coffee parcel can operate in the system. Each person can access, they can access to these codes, and it will take you to a WhatsApp chat that will be connected to our one of our experts that can explain you better how to participate. This expert can understand how are the coordinates, and they can make analysis, a technical analysis and financial analysis to join a carbon project. This is free. This has no cost, so you can act upon this. You only need to connect, indicate the location of our coffee parcel, indicate the coordinates, and then you will have a technical analysis on our land. So this is free, but this is a first step to know if we can enter this system. To conclude, we want to tell you firstly that what we want to do is to integrate technology and sustainability, empowering women to transform the coffee sector. If women participate, it's easier to help them and to support them. We would like to integrate all these aspects and expand it to other areas of the world. We want to generate models that can be replicable and that can have a triple impacts in order to share all this knowledge. What are we looking for? First, to create a platform to and strengthen partnerships with investors and international agencies. Secondly, to create a space for technical assistance for women. EthioLatinCoffee is open for people to come and learn. If they cannot come physically, you can connect with this QR and participate. It will be very beautiful if women in the world start participating in this system. And thirdly, we're doing a continuous monitoring using security protocols with drones. What we want is to have an open data for everyone, open to everyone. We are working on this line, and we're gonna start making the data open to everyone in the next 2 or 3 months, so you can access to them. So lastly, what we want to do is to create a map to rethink how we can help to make possible these projects. If you want to know more about this, I am Johnny Fernandez Lopez. I am the CEO of Neptura. Here you can find my information details if you want to reach out to know better this project, to get in touch. Uh, Whether you want to know more about the Cauca project or about other aspects, you can contact me. We also have social networks that you can reach me on my social media. So this is an activity that we're doing, and this is a gift that I want to do for all the women coffee producers. Because this is an opportunity to generate new incomes and to be the protagonist of changing and like of driving the change in the coffee sector. So here again, I can put the QR so that you can enter, and I really thank you for the attention.
Thank you so much, Johnny, for that insightful and inspiring presentation. Your work in Cauca offers a powerful example of how innovation, sustainability, and women's leadership can converge to transform coffee landscapes and unlock new opportunities through carbon finance. The integration of blockchain and agroforestry and your emphasis on financial inclusion really set the stage for what's possible at the global level. We truly appreciate you sharing your vision and practical experience with us today, and for your willingness to work with Honduran and Ethiopian colleagues in the coffee sector. Thank you for that. Now I would like to open the floor for questions. If you have questions or comment for Johnny, please feel free to raise your hand. Then we'll allow you to talk. The floor is open for questions. Mickey, please follow the participants. If there is any questions, then we'll allow them to ask the questions. Just raise your hand and we'll allow you. Let me start with one question, Johnny. So you have outlined a powerful roadmap for scaling this model globally. What do you see as the most important first step when replicating this model in a new country like Ethiopia, for example? What's the first step, the most important first step that should happen to replicate such kind of technologies in countries like Ethiopia?
Here you can see the methodology. The first thing we need to do, it's an assessment of our assets, our climate assets in this case. Each country that wants to participate, the first thing they need to do is to see, to have a macro picture of the model. We need to select a region. This region can have, we recommend it to have at least 1,000 hectares. There's also analysis that are done with higher hectares, but at least with 1,000 hectares we can do a preliminary analysis. Here we can see the potential, the capacity of carbon sequestration of this area. If you want to do this, I am at your disposal. We can support you to do this first preliminary assessment without any cost. This could freely. So the first thing you need to do is to select the area that you want to assess, and we can do this preliminary assessment to know what is the potential of carbon sequestration through, this is very important, through this carbon sequestration potential, we can find, we can know and identify the financial sources. First, identifying the area. Second, technical analysis, and to know the impact of the carbon sequestration in this area, and then to find the financial. This will be the first step. I know that this is very technical, but if you are interested in doing this, you can request it to our technical department to do this preliminary assessment, so that when we have this assessment, we can create this project. This will be the second step. The second step is related to what I was mentioning before, this QR. So we need to develop a channel, like a WhatsApp chat, where each interested person can communicate. They can say, well, I want my farm to be assessed. This is like going to a bank and asking for some support, some evaluation. The third step will be to find the resources. This can be done in three ways. First, we can do this through grants. There are some calls, some grant calls that can where you can apply for. So these grants will help us get the resources at sometimes at a national level, and then we found these resources can reach from up to $5 million. But when we find these resources, financing resources, that could be also internationally, because there are some banks that are investing on this. We're talking about from 3 million of USD up to 30. So we can reach out governments, institutions, international agencies to reach and to get these resources. After having the resources, then we allocate them in a sort of international fund in order to secure it. And these resources are visible there. And depending on the results or the outputs of each of the stakeholders, they can use these resources. This is like a trust fund where we can use it. So once we have the resources, then we can do the technical.
Good. You're in the panel, but I have one more question to. Is there any question? Yeah, somebody has raised. Who is it? Please continue. Yeah, continue, please.
Okay. Thank you, Johnny, for your wonderful presentation. It's unfortunate that I took so long to join the meeting. My internet is acting up, so I couldn't manage to access your presentation. Especially, I couldn't manage to access the translation version. Anyway, my question is, we are going to implement a pilot level carbon credit initiative, especially using smaller farmers that may have hundreds or even a little bit more. So what are the technical challenges of implementing blockchain in this regard? Especially, how can this be addressed? Thank you.
Yes, Johnny, let me add on top of that. Have you encountered any pushback or skepticism from farmers, smallholder farmers, about the use of advanced technologies like drones and blockchain technology? If so, how did you address it? Any challenge, any skepticism from the farmers on the use of advanced technologies? And how did you address that?
Right.
Okay. Let Johnny respond to that one, then we'll continue to Jonas. Make it short, please, Johnny.
So 2 questions. The first one, it's about the technical issues, and the second, it's on the reaction of the farmers. The first question, the first technical issue that we found, it's linked to having a transparency on traceability. I'm gonna talk about it. It's gonna be a bit technical, but in order to cover blockchain for climate change, we need to justify that we are sequestrating carbon, and this happens when we have an improvement in the biomass area. This is linked on how the roots, the stem are growing, are developing. And we need to justify all this technically. In order to do this, we can maybe collect data through drones on satellites to be linked to a climate assess. This is the first challenge. So how do we did this? So every time we created a project, we created something called NFT. This was the digital footprint of the project. All the data, it's registered in this system. The second challenge that we found, it was to do this transaction. So we designed a model. There is a paper that is talking about this. So if you are interested, we can read it. So we created a security token to engage with all the stakeholders. You become like a partner of the future plantations, of the future crop. So we need to create a security mechanism, a token, to do that. The third challenge was how to trade it. So here we created a utility tool. This tool allow us to have already carbon credits that we can trade. This tool can be, or called token, can be used in the market. These are the technical terms that we have in terms of the blockchain. Secondly, the second question, what was the reaction of the farmers? Were they, did we find any pushbacks? Firstly, we need to ensure that we simplify the process in order to have a direct communication with them and to simplify things. We talk about WhatsApp. So we created this communication channel. This built a lot of trust among the farmers, and because for them, this is their normal channel of communication. So we really reached them, and this facilitated the process so that they can interact with throughout the whole system. They can sell a photo, they can sell data around WhatsApp, and WhatsApp is very good for this. So regarding the process of distributing the assets, we found the challenge of how can I give the farmers something tangible? So what was the problem? These carbon credits are not tangible. So how can they have something tangible so they feel trust? So we created these security tools as they become like a share, like a whole share. they have some assets, like in the stock markets, and they have it in their computer. And this is something tangible that they see it and that they give them trust. So firstly is that we have a trustful channel to have a direct communication, and that they receive a participation, like a stock market assets, and they feel that they're getting something.
Thank you, Joey. So thank you so much for the response. I think we don't have any more questions. So, and due to time, we need to go to the next presentation. Thank you, Johnny. So next presentation will be Dr. Johannes. He's the climate expert in the carbon credit for coffee producers project here in Ethiopia. So he'll be presenting, he'll give us his presentation. Dr. Jonas, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Alamo. Good morning, Latin Americans, and good afternoon, Ethiopians. As already introduced by Mr. Alamo, my name is Jonas. Today, I'll explore the role of carbon credits in supporting the Ethiopian coffee producer who are facing significant challenges due to climate change. So perhaps, as you may know, Ethiopia is the birthplace of coffee, and we're the largest producer in Africa. Therefore, we are contributing significantly to global coffee supply, particularly coffee Arabica. So beyond its global appeal, our coffee is deeply embedded in our culture, which making it a true national treasure. However, our Ethiopian's climate is highly vulnerable to changes due to its reliance on rain-fed agriculture. Because of that, climate change continuously threatening our coffee production system, particularly with coffee Arabica, which is sensitive to temperature and rainfall changes. For example, if I want to emphasize on the direct impact of temperature, for example, the higher temperature accelerates the ripening process of the fruits. On the other hand, when we look at the two extreme events, for example, droughts may reduce water availability, thereby affecting the photosynthesis or flowering period, thereby affecting the cherry development. On the other hand, heavy rains, particularly when it's occur during the collection period, it may affect the crop. Not only that, it's also affecting the routine activities as well as the drying process of the coffee beans. These are some of the direct impact of climate change. When you look at the indirect impact, for example, the weather and the warmer condition spread the coffee berry disease, which potentially decline the production by 50%. And when you look at the other extreme events, for example, the warmer and humid condition also increase the prevalence of coffee leaf rust disease. By the way, this was not as such a serious potential damaging fungi in our country, but it's one of the most devastating fungi in Latin American countries. But recent studies have shown that the incidence of this causing fungi is reported about 35.3%, and this also again becoming significant challenge. And with regard to pests again, the warmer and dry period also proliferate the coffee berry borer, which also significantly affecting the crop losses. And this is some of the coffee stability modeling done by different scholars using forest cover from satellite data and as well as the ground truth data using some control plane. Just for information, Ethiopia has five major coffee growing zones: the northern, the southwest, the Rift Valley, the Hara, and the southeast. So according to this model prediction, by the end of this century, the projection showed that the current coffee growing areas of Ethiopia will decrease considerably. It's expected that 14 to 60% will be declined if we are not making any intervention. And at the other extreme, for example, with active migration and intervention, there could be a substantial increase in the coffee farming systems of Ethiopia, but this again may have a challenge. For example, we may not get favorable environmental condition to produce coffees. Not only that, it may also compete with other agricultural crops. So if you look at two examples, for example, in the north, the coffee zone in the recent past, that means from 1916 to 1990, coffee suitability, according to this model, classified as unsuitable to marginal, indicated by this symbol. And with an overall improvement in coffee suitability to the end of this century. Although the model agreement has shown by these two circles, which is orange and red, which is somehow moderate and weak. If you look at the Harar zone, which contain part of Arsi, which is very close to the central part of our country, the Western Hararge and the Eastern Hararge, and according to this model, in the present past, 1916 to 1990, the coffee suitability classified as actually broadly as unsuitable, that is indicated by this symbol. Not only that, with no improvement, actually dropping even below unsuitable through to 2019. So this, again, the model agreement is very strong, as can be shown by the green circle. So when we look at the carbon credit opportunity in our coffee value chain, usually my topic will focus on smallholder farmers because 95% of the Ethiopian coffee produced by this group. So the traditional shared group coffee system exercised by these farmers, not only producing high quality beans, but also support biodiversity and carbon sequestration. This makes it the sector a prime candidate to climate finance or carbon credit initiative. This is a simplified version of the coffee supply chain in our country, the value chain. So there are two potential areas I would like to address because, as I have said before, my focus point is the smallholder farmer. This is the first area that we are focusing on for carbon credit initiative. I will come this later in detail. The second is in the processing, and the last one is here. So when you look at the different carbon credit initiatives, we may think of the farming practice. For example, initiatives like promoting shared grown coffee system by integrating native tree species, for example, acacia, which is a really known nitrogen fixing species, Cordia africana, which are indigenous tree species, which are extremely suitable as served as a shade tree. And also we may think of fruit trees into the coffee farm. So those trees capturing carbon while improving biodiversity and enhance the soil health at the same time qualifying for carbon credit. The second carbon credit initiative, we may think of reforestation and forest conservation using the NOM RED program. As you may know, protecting and recording natural forests within our near coffee growing area to enhance carbon sequestration and biodiversity. And such reforestation and conservation project can generate carbon credits while supporting the ecosystem health. The third potential area is sustainable land use management by encouraging the farmer to adopt regenerative farming practice such as cover cropping, mulching, and organic composting to increase soil organic matter. So it's not only the tree species, but also the soil act as carbon sources. So healthy soil act as a carbon sink, and farmer can earn credits for improving their soil carbon level. The fourth initiative you might think of is energy for coffee processing. For example, transition from fossil fuel-based energy to new energy, such as using solar energy or biomass for coffee processing. You may think of drying, hulling, and other activities. So reduction of from such activities, there is a possibility to reduce significantly in terms of greenhouse gas emission from using energy that can generate again a carbon credit. The last point I would like to cover is waste to resource initiative. For example, converting coffee products such as pulps, husks, and wastes into biogas or compost, or even you may think of converting of the coffee husk into a biochar, so that by reducing methane emission from waste decomposition or by utilizing the biochar back into the coffee farms, that is a stable form of carbon, can also generate carbon credits. So there are some initiatives in our country. There are a number of carbon credit projects in Ethiopia. Then let me address this one by one. For example, from the first example, agroforestry-based coffee farming, there is a company called Nespresso. This company, it's a private sector, introduced a triple sustainable quality program, which is operated almost in 18 countries, including in Ethiopia. This encourages farmers, particularly women, to plant shade trees and also provide training with improving soil health. Thereby, such activities will also help them to sequester carbon. The other initiative, which is similar with that of the triple Nespresso company, the coffee agroforestry project in Sadama. Similarly, this also project encourage farmers to plant shade trees, at the same time encouraging sustainable farming practices by promoting composting, mulching, cover crop to enhance soil carbon credits. They are also possible to generate carbon credit. The third example I have is the Farm Africa region project, which is the First, reducing emission from deforestation and forest degradation project in the Bali eco region, which is found in the southeastern parts of our country. This Red Plus project builds a participatory forest management approach, which supports both the local forest users or the communities and also the government to manage the responsibility and benefit of the forests together. So farmers who are living in this area are benefiting from their engagement in participatory forest management program using various forest-based enterprise development. So these are some of the success stories. Because of this intervention, they were successfully avoiding deforestation, which is around 25,160 hectares. And as a result of this, they also generated for emission reduction 10 million, more than 10 million equivalent CO2. And this money from the carbon credit project sales goes back to the local community and they use it to sustain their life. The third project is solar drying coffee project in Ethiopia. And this project replaces traditional wood fire drying method with solar powered alternative to reduce deforestation and emission. This project aims to improve the efficiency, quality, and also sustainability of coffee drying practice in our country, which is a critical stage in coffee production, as you may know. So the traditional drying method, which often involves sun drying, as you can see from this top right corner of the picture, and this is prone to inconsistency in temperature, contamination, and the risk of exposure to the sun, which can negatively impact the coffee flavor and the quality. And this project, as described, in fact, is not inherently a carbon credit project, but it has the potential to integrate into a carbon credit. For example, a good example from our neighboring countries, the live straw carbon for water projects, they usually use water filter to reduce the need for boiling water with a firewood that can generate carbon credit from avoided emission. So similarly, this project in Ethiopia could follow this model by replacing firewood or fossil fuel with solar energy. With regard to this, again, the energy efficiency, the coffee husk as a biomass energy, which is one of the most underutilized biomass. It can also generate it, and after burning this coffee husk, it's possible to generate it. And this combustion of coffee husk is used to power drying system, for example, mechanical dryer and solar assisted dryer. On the other hand, the other project is a biochar for sustainable soil project. This project in past phased out in 2008, which is supported by the global environmental facilities and implemented by the United Nations Environmental Program in 6 countries where Ethiopia is also a partner. And this project converted the coffee husks into biochar, and this biochar used to reclaim degraded sands. At the same time, it's also used to improve agricultural efficiency, thereby possible to mitigating climate change at the same time avoiding environmental pollution. So this picture you can see from the right top corner is a coffee husk, piles of coffee husk. This is almost very common in our country where coffee processing industries are found. So it's possible to convert or to repurpose this into the biochar, and this biochar can be used back into the coffee farms, thereby increasing the soil organic carbon and claim carbon credit project. The fifth project, this is the last project actually, and let me talk to the key opportunities for scaling up those carbon credits in our countries. The first thing is carbon credit availability, because recently, I think last week, the Ethiopian Coffee and Tea Authority unveiled a significant initiative which aimed at strengthening the coffee sector and that launched a credit line for investment in the coffee sector. This includes both the big giant industries as well as the smallholder coffee farmers. So it's possible to use this credit to initiate a carbon credit initiative. Not only that, in 2024, for example, Ethiopia also ratified the Green Legacy Initiative and the Green Land Rehabilitation Special Fund. In fact, this may not be directly related to the coffee farm, but it's possible to use this opportunity. The other thing is a partnership, as you may know, collaboration with diverse non-governmental organizations who are ready to support this carbon credit. The private sector and the government agency also present a great opportunity for the coffee carbon credit schemes. So by working together, this partner can effectively implement sustainable farming practice that can reduce carbon emission and improve soil health. Technology, I think this is addressed by Johnny, which I'm not very familiar with it. It's also integrating remote sensing and blockchain technology into the coffee carbon credit schemes, offer a powerful solution for transparent and accurate monitoring. For example, the remote sensing allow for real-time data collection on the land use, crop health, and carbon sequestration, which ensures that the sustainable efforts are being made, whereas blockchain provide a secure and transparent platform for tracking and verifying carbon credits. This can prevent fraud or any double counting. The other thing, a key opportunity is capacity building, which is crucial for smallholder farmers. Not only that, for implementing agencies to fully benefit from the coffee carbon credit schemes. So by providing farmers with the knowledge and tools and resources needed, they can successfully implement sustainable farming practice. The other thing is policy support. For example, the Ethiopian climate resilient green economy. This strategy provides a framework for integrating carbon credit into the national climate action plan. The last one is our coffee is very well known in terms of the quality, especially the coffee market. So the premium market offers a significant opportunity for Ethiopian smallholder coffee growers. So by providing access to higher value market that recognize the unique quality and origin of our coffee, that this carbon can motivate farmers to engage in carbon credit projects. So even if we have these key opportunities, there are a number of key challenges that need to be addressed. The first one is poverty and limited access to resources, because these are significantly challenges for the Ethiopian coffee grower in participating in the carbon credit scheme. And many smallholder farmers lack the financial means to invest in the sustainable farming practice, which require to earn carbon credits. Not only that, limited access to technologies, as I have said before, training and infrastructure hinder their ability to measure and verify carbon credit carbon sequestration effectively. The second point is uncertainty and risk are also major challenges in participating in the carbon credit scheme, particularly fluctuating in coffee price, climate access impact, and unprecedented regulatory framework can create financial instability for our farmers. Additionally, the long-term nature of carbon credit, which makes them difficult for smallholder growers to see immediate return on their investment, because they are very much interested on the immediate need, as they are very poor and have limited access to resources. And lack of access to information and support is also another challenge, because many farmers are unaware of how the carbon credit scheme works or how they can benefit from it, and they lack the technical support which is needed to implement sustainable practice and measure carbon sequestration. Even if they do have the knowledge about this issue, because they are poor, then because of they don't have access to financial resources, they are not there enough to engage in the carbon credit initiative. Third one is technical capacity. This is also one of the major lackages, particularly both the farmers as well as implementing agencies needed to implement sustainable farming practice. And on the other hand, the measure and verification process, which is also very challenging, because carbon sequestration verifying the impact of sustainable practice usually require specialized knowledge, tools, and resources that many farmers lack. So without reliable data and proper verification, it's quite challenging for them to ensure the credibility of their carbon credits. The last point is high upfront costs is also implementing the sustainable practice such as agroforestry or soil conservation or any kind of implement practice require initial investment both in time, resource, training, and other technologies which may smallholder farmers cannot afford. So these are some of the key challenges that we need to address. With this, we are concluding the following. The carbon credits offer, in fact, a transformative opportunity for our coffee producer. So by addressing those challenges that I mentioned and leveraging the key opportunities, we can lead our smallholder farmers sustainable coffee production while contributing to global climate change. So we recommend the following. We need to build a capacity and awareness among farmers, which is one of the key challenges need to be addressed. Strengthening farmer cooperative to pool resources and reduce costs, because it's also challenging because majority of our farmers are poor. Not only that, we need to tailoring carbon credit project to the reality of smallholder farmers, because you have to think of those smallholder farmers who are very poor. Fourth, strengthening public-private partnership, because there is a limitation in the financial sector, because the public fund is very limited. So we need to engage the private sector. Not only that, we need also digital innovation to drive financial inclusion. And last, advocating for fair price and transparency in carbon market is also crucial. Thank you very much for your listening.
Thank you, Dr. Anas. Dr. Anas is leading the climate part of the project. So thank you for that, for this comprehensive and timely presentation as well. Your insights into the challenges and opportunities for carbon credit initiatives in Ethiopia coffee sector were both informative and thought-provoking. So it's clear that with the right combination of agroforestry, as you have said, renewable energy integration and supportive policies, Ethiopia has the potential to lead in climate resilient coffee production. I also appreciate your emphasis on the importance of building capacity and ensuring that carbon credit initiatives are inclusive and accessible to smallholder farmers specifically, because in this project we work for women coffee producers, for women coffee farmers. So thank you once again for your valuable contribution to this important conversation. And I now open the floor for questions, comments, feedback. There were 3 questions in the earlier session. We will address them later if we have time. But now if there are any questions for Jonas, then you're welcome. Questions? I see no questions in the chat. I see no questions in the question and answer for Jonas, but there are 3 questions for Johnny. Johnny will respond to those later. Are there any questions? So in the meantime, Johnny, can you respond to these questions in the question and answer? The first one is, thank you for the presentation. It was very interesting. I would like to ask, how is the carbon sequestration and economic value per ton is calculated in general terms? And if there is any difference in its carbon sequestration calculation and economical value, whether the coffee crop is organic or non-organic? Just brief answers. Please, yes.
So how can we estimate the carbon price? The carbon price depends on the market where it's going to be sold. Today, there are 3 types of formats to sell carbon. The first one, it's related to markets with a carbon tax. Maybe for those countries where they have a carbon tax. For example, in Colombia, we have a carbon tax, and this is between 4 and 5 USD per ton. And this is how was this fixed? It was regulated by the government. The second format is the voluntary market. Here in the voluntary market, it's more flexible. Here we can sell the carbon credits in different places of the world, and only the buyer can choose the seller. In this case, the buyer will buy according to the methodology and to the seller. And this is where we're talking about trust again. So sometimes if a seller adopts a specific methodology, this can give more trust. So there are VCS, there's cold standard, and there's another one called ACR standard. This is from the US. Cold standard is from Europe, and BCS is a more popular standard among of them. These are the ones that have the best pricing in terms of carbon credit. I would like to show you something regarding this. These are the carbon prices. So there's a company that established it's called Viridius, and they talk about the carbon price weekly. So this is from 2021. So if we talk about the voluntary market, we need to take account the elements that I talked before. These are for the red projects, where we have carbon reductions by reduction of deforestation. We have red Africa, red Latin America, red Asia. Here we have different values. Here there's a concept that they use, they call it vintage. This is regarding the year where the verification was done. So here are the pricing. So for Red Africa, in 2018, it was 1.94. So Red Africa in 2023, it was 4.36 USD. So here we have different values in Latin in the same year. For the Latin America, it was $6, and for Africa, it was $4. But this is due to the trust that they generate with their methodologies. So, for example, there are some elements that are less value than others. Maybe if we talk about growing trees, maybe this is value less than other parts. Like maybe if we get afforestation. Yes?
We are running out of time, so please make it short.
So here, just to talk about the price. So we're talking from $3 to $5 for red plus projects, but for afforestation we can have more value, like 9 or even 10 USD. So the price will depend on the market where we're selling these credits, and depending on the trust that we can build for the buyer. It's not only linked to production, it's linked to trust and to the market where we sell it. And here the standard that we use is very important.
Yes, thank you, Joni. There are some questions in the question and answer. Maybe we'll come back to those questions. First, let's allow Sophia to present, then later on, if we have time, we'll go through all the questions. Thank you for that. So now go to Sophia, please.
I'd like to start. It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Sofia Raudales, and I am an advisor for different coffee companies in Honduras regarding these environmental topics. But let's talk about this topic, which is the carbon projects. We're going to talk about the carbon projects that we have with a group of women and men, coffee producers in El Paraíso, one of the coffee growing areas in the country. As I was saying, I'm Sofia Raudales. I was working on the Honduran Association and APROCAFE as the director, but now I am an advisor on these topics. So how did we start it in Honduras? We started in 2022. And we started this dialogue with the key actors in Honduras, with the authorities, the private and the public sector, to reach a consensus and to create projects. The ministries of environmental and agriculture, we, together with them, I went to COP27 in Egypt, when we could have a trial with the specialists on carbon markets. The Honduran presidency in the this area, we have this dialogue to so how we could implement this in our country. We were accompanied by Rabobank, and then we did the follow-up in Honduras. The same year, we selected a group of 2,000 coffee producers in order to work with the Acron platform with the NGO Solidaridad, that is the leader of this process in the region. We started to incorporate the producers through a transparent engagement method. I think this is a key for the success of this project, because this is a new topic to our country. There's a many doubts and many things that we don't know. So there's have been also some scams from some companies regarding this topic. They have stole the lands, the ownership of these lands, telling them that they will have carbon credits. This has been an issue in the country, and this is what our Republican government, through the environmental and preservation of nature, has department. They have created a moratorium on the carbon projects. We cannot create any project without their or permit. This has created some issues in order to work, but now we're gonna tell them how we went about it. First, we engage with the co-partners. In this case, we selected 1,500 producers. From then, out of them, 290 were women. Working with women was very different from working with men. Why? Women were not the owners of the land. The husbands of these women were the owners, but they left to the US, and they were managing the land now. So all this topic was new for them. Everything was new from them, the growing coffee and also carbon credit. We had to work with them in a we have to work and be advisor for them how to work the coffee and how the women can participate and how they understood the climate change. This was a very beautiful and participative initiative where women could understand the value of trees, values of coffee trees, and the agroforestry system within a coffee farm. Then we need to find some assessment criteria. Not everyone can participate. We need to establish the criteria. First, they need to be a coffee producer. We need to consider the land. We're talking about a 20-year commitment, a commitment to no deforestation. So this is a legal process. It's selling. It's a transaction. So we need to undertake agreements between the different parts. At that time, I was working on the NGO of Solidaridad, and we hire many technicians to support women to understand this carbon system, because it's a new topic in our country. It's a non-tangible product. It's not the same to sell a bag of fertilizer than selling a carbon tone that we cannot see. So we have to explain about timber products, about agroforestry. We make a guide on agroforestry, because the agriculture differs from one part to another. We have different species. We make an analysis on which are the species that captures more CO2. Once we did this, we make a pre-validation, and then we sign a pre-validation agreement of the project to commit to no deforestation. For us, the carbon project, beyond the carbon transaction, it's to raise, the aim is to raise awareness about the forestry topics. So today it's not possible to know that we still have some coffee growing system. So we need to establish this system to get these resources. So this is where we join our government with different NGOs, with the private sector, and with the uh, civil society to create nurseries, to have different plans, to monitor different tree plants that we're gonna plant. Once we have all this, we did the polygon, establishing the polygon mapping. If we don't do this correctly, we will fail. So we hire technicians, satellites, experts on satellites images to reduce the mistakes that we could undertake. Then we engage with the government. We inform them about our progresses on our study. So then we needed to validate our algorithm in Honduras because Honduras was not within the carbon project of ACO or Rabobank. So we have to do this assessment of the biomass. We did this manually to adjust to the methodology that Honduras used for the environmental convention. So we established all the measurement of the trees that can do carbon sequestrations. And then we established the supply of these carbon credits. We are doing this with Microsoft. This was one actor that really was interested in this sector. So we publish publicly who are the main buyers that we got. It is very interesting the case of women in this respect that we could analyze. So why was it interesting? This is a photo that we did in Nicaragua. These projects are in Nicaragua, Mexico, and Honduras. This is a real story. So we have 1,358 producers. Out of them, 290 are women. So all of them participated, and any of them deforested. They all took care the plants, and this shows that it's very important to involucrate women from the start because they really follow the system. What happened with those 290 women? They learn about pruning, about fertilizers, about agroforestry system, about the quality. We gave some trainings about businesses.
Sorry, Stella. Are we on this slide or which slide? Mickey is confused. Is he on this slide or? Which slide are you? This one?
This one. This is this is it.
Good.
So we engage women in a training. So the Technological University of Honduras enrolled them in this training, so that in this business training, so they could understand that the coffee farm, it's a business, and they understand that the tree that they have in their farm is an incentive. So this motivated them to the extent that now they want to even plant more trees to promote reforestation. We don't only do tree planting, but in the farms, but we also do it in the reserves that belong to the state. Our state has a mechanism of carbon offsets from this carbon sink. And with women, we taught them about the commitment that they have with environment and how to transmit this to the children. They transmit to their children that the tree can help them to get bigger quality of a higher quality of the coffee. So the whole family um, takes care about this. This project was a very integrated project and it was an example for the whole country. Now we want to replicate it. Right now we are gonna change our government. We're holding elections in November, so things are on standby. But this project has been very beautiful and we want to replicate it. This is what I recommend to people that start from scratch. I They need to engage with the government because the government needs to know that this is transparent. So they really consider everything, all the contracts, all the information to give this transparency. What were our outcomes? We all were connected to the platform of this 1,000, over 1,000 participants. So already has entered this system recently. Colombia, for example, created the Carbon Farming Academy. This academy helped us to make some training kits for technicians, for NGOs, for farmers that want to enter the carbon market. This is more important. This gives a continuous training for the producer because the producer have many doubts. Sometimes they say, "I have a forest here, and I've been looking after the forest. Do I have to pay?" This is what they tell us, and then we solve all these doubts. Also, we don't ask for the land title. Normally, the land title needs to the owner needs to keep it. The payment will be for the owner of the land. No, but it's not possible to retain their title. So this is difficult to engage women because in Honduras, normally women are not in owners of the land legally. So now we have a project, we're gonna do more than 400 titles, ownership of lands for these women, where their husbands that moved to the US, they're gonna donate this land to their women or pass it on to their women so that they can be the owners. Another challenge that we saw and the lessons learned is that if we don't understand carbon, we cannot explain it to the producers. So it is an impairment to have everything clear and to know about these carbon projects. In the consultations that I undertook with the ministers of Honduras, we established the carbon law of Honduras. This was a very complex work. We were working with lawyers and ministers. I was present there, and we advocates to the leaders so that they could understand this is a benefit for the environment, for the producer, and for the country. So we need to coincide with all the stakeholders. We all need to have the things clear and we need to work together. We cannot work in silos. What are the opportunities for the countries? We still have like many big areas that do coffee on the sun, and they use a lot of land hectares of coffee that are not grown. on shade. So normally we do a lot of investments. We create a lot of strategy to resolve this. There's many NGOs that are working on this. We need to join forces. We need to learn from other projects, maybe from the project of Johnny. We also went to EthioLatinCoffee. We took our farmers so that they could learn and replicate those projects in Honduras. This is very important for the success for women. Also, financing for women. This is key. If the woman is now the owner of the land, they cannot invest. The bank will ask for this title of the land. So we need to find other initiatives with banks in order to help these women. So, so here you can see that we have the agroforestry system and we also the coffee tree. So the coffee tree, there is not a lot of carbon sequestration, but then when it grows, there are more carbon sequestration. So there was a very interesting case that I developed. I went to Europe, to Scotland, and I met with a coffee roaster. So I mentioned that we have a cooperative that wanted to measure their coffee chain to reduce the carbon footprint. And the roaster was very interested on this case, and he gave us the budget to measure the carbon footprint using the tool, and he paid for the incentive of this coffee that had this carbon footprint reduction. So there are many opportunities. We need to just find the appropriate channel. We need to talk to the market. We need to know very well the system, and we need to collaborate. We can do it on setting or offsetting, sell it within the coffee value chain or outside of the coffee value chain. But this person was interested, and the buyer say he wanted to participate and he wanted to buy. They came to Honduras. They came when they graduated after the training that they undertook. Now we are in the second phase of the project. They are still investing to get more farms in this project. So this is what I wanted to tell you about our experience. That we wanted to grow. We want to share all the information, and anything you need, I am at your disposal.
Thank you, Sophia, for your presentation. We have now 17 minutes. I think we can open the floor for questions because we have some questions in the question and answer area. So if let me read them so that the various presenters can respond to them. So there is a question from Aurora. Thank you for the presentation. It was very interesting. I would like to ask, how is the carbon sequestration economic value per ton? Okay, this has been already responded to. There is a question from Alam. Thank you for your nice presentation. It's a good opportunity for creating income for women coffee producer. My question is, how many women are involved in this project? I think this question is for Johnny.
Both.
Is it for Johnny or
Oh, sorry.
Sophia? Okay, you can respond both Johnny and Sophia. How many women coffee producers are part of the project?
In the case of Honduras, we have 2,000 women in the platform and 290 with polygon mapping. In Honduras, we have 120,000 coffee producers, and the 20% is women. Now we have 2,000 women in the platform and 290 with the polygon mapping. In Colombia, we have 490 women in this process, in this pilot process, pilot
Thank you.
project.
Yeah. So another question from Aurora, an additional question, if possible, is it to understand how the translation of carbon sequestration economical value to the final payment beneficiaries is processed? If Johnny can share an example, if this process is welcomed by every bank, or if it is with very specific banks. So the question is how the translation of carbon sequestration economical value to the final payment beneficiaries is processed. Johnny, can you respond to this question? Do you have an example? Does every bank accept this, or are there any specific banks? Is the question clear? Johnny, can you hear me?
Sí, yes. So how do we go about it? So Sophia was talking about this case. Some models, what they do is like from the value of the carbon operation is, so there's a percentage for the associations that participate, and there's a percentage of for the beneficiaries. In some cases, the 70% goes to producers. This depends on the value of the investment that the stakeholder did to generate these carbon credits. How can this be calculated? The calculation is linked to a mathematical process. Firstly, we do it to the additionality principle. This means the new trees that we have planted. Maybe we have a coffee plantation, but I add wood trees or fruit trees. These new trees will be the ones that will be quantified. In some projects, maybe they accept trees that are young and have been planted 4 years ago. So we calculate the biomass of the trees through the allometric measurements. This is how the tree grows up on the stem, on the roots, and this is like an S-shaped curve. So when they're young, they grow very fast, and then it goes down. So this makes like an S. So between the 5 and the 15 years of the tree is where the trees grow more, or grow higher, and they get more carbon, and this establish the biomass area, and this is what is calculated. So when you want to do it manually, normally we can measure the tree and we calculate the surface, the diameter of the tree. So here we can measure how big are the roots, how big are the tree, the leaves. So maybe we can calculate how much the tree weighs, and after calculating all this, we establish two metric system. I'm gonna be very general. So 50% of the tree, it's carbon. So if the tree weighted 1 ton, 500 kg are carbon. So this is the carbon that I get. But the calculation that I do to sell my ton is normally an estimation that is equivalent, and then I multiply this for a parameter that is 3.67, which means we're converting from solid carbon to air carbon. So I multiply 500 kilos by 3.67, so I have 1.7 tons of carbon, equivalent carbon. So this will be the value verified. There is an auditor that can verify if this calculation is correct, and then we negotiate the value, the price with the buyer, and then we sell it. So Sophia said now the main buyers were Unotel and Microsoft. Sophia said that they were working with Microsoft. So these are one of the big buyers. In the voluntary market, you can negotiate with them. Some of them will even give you a plus that are linked to not only to carbon, maybe to working with women, to different aspects, social aspects. Maybe the buyer will be willing to pay more for a neutral carbon because maybe the coffee growing, it's mitigating carbon creation, maybe through the use of organic fertilizers. So this can give us a plus to increase the price. So this will be the different variables that we can use to estimate the value. And this is very important in order to negotiate with the buyers. So sometimes there's a 70 or 80% that we give to the producers. But in some other cases, we establish a minimal price. Maybe, okay, so I want $3 or $10 US dollars by ton. And then the trader will assure the minimum price. So this is another way to do it. These are some of the mechanisms that can be used. I hope that is clear.
I hope our question is answered. If not, raise your hand again. There is someone that Foley, I think he's no more among the participants, but there was a question from him or her. It says, I have a question, how this one works for Ethiopian case. I think this one is for Jonas. Emission reduction or carbon sequestration? What is the benchmark? I mean, he didn't write questions. The full text of the question is not included in the chat, but if you can figure it out, I don't know how this one works for Ethiopian case, emission reduction or carbon sequestration. What's the benchmark? Dr. Anas, do you have?
Yeah, if I understand the question correctly, I think in my presentation I openly showed that both can work. For example, if farmers are introducing, for example, protecting their forests, that means near to their coffee farmers, it can be goes to the emission reduction. And on the other hand, if they are planting new trees, for example, in the form of agroforestry practice, that can be carbon sequestration. Not only that, there are also different approaches to utilize this carbon sequestration. For example, by improving the different kinds of innovative agricultural practice, for example, mulching, water conservation, and also addition of some kind of organic fertilizer, such as the biochar. They can improve the soil organic matter, thereby they can claim carbon credit. This can goes to the carbon sequestration. And with regard to the benchmark, if I understand it correctly, her question or his question, usually the benchmark means this before it is implementing the project. That's it. So any carbon credit schemes claim after measuring the existing forestries and also the soil organic matter, that could be served as a benchmark. Then after this benchmarking, it's possible to claim any carbon credit, which is called additionality. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Anas. So there are a couple of thanks from Aurora. Thank you, Jonas. Another one, also thank you, Sophia, for the very interesting presentation. I would like to know if she thinks that the new opportunity of carbon credits to coffee farmers may support women to have ownership to the land, or if it might make it more difficult as land will have an additional value. If there is any simultaneous initiative for promoting land ownership for women. Thanks. Now, the thing is, this carbon credit is going to bring money, income. So will this thing have a negative impact? That's a kind of question I think she wants to ask. So, Sophia, if you can respond to this one. Is the question clear?
Yes. For our countries, we have an initiative with eCafe and with Property Institute, where we're getting a list of coffee producers that are already registered in our institute. And we have also a big percentage of women that are not registered. We have more than 20,000 women that don't have this ownership title. So we're working on this. We have financing from the NGO and from the government in order to give them a title and to advance, to have every woman to give them all these titles. We have given already 1,500 ownership titles. This is very complex, but we can do it if we work. We do it group by group, the department by department, and this is what we're doing. We're trying to get finance and to pay for the lawyers to do the land measurement and to do all this process. So this requires a lot of support, but we haven't stopped. We have been working on that, and we have received support from all the coffee institutes to do this.
Thank you, Sophia. I hope, Aurora, your question is answered. So, any other question or comments before we close the session? I don't see any questions in the chat, no questions in the question and answer area. So there are no questions. Thank you all for joining us today for this powerful and inspiring conversation. Heartfelt thank you to our presenters, Dr. Jonas from Ethiopia, Johnny from Colombia, and Sofia from Honduras. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise, experiences, and vision for how carbon credits can empower women coffee producers across Ethiopia, Colombia, and Honduras. Your contributions have made this session both practical and hopeful. To all participants, thank you for your time, for engagement and commitment to this important work. This is just the beginning. We look forward to continuing the dialogue through our quarterly webinars. We'll be having quarterly webinars. After 3 months, we'll have another webinar on carbon credits, climate finance issues in the coffee sector under the EthioLatinCoffee community of practice. So until next time, stay connected. Let's keep working together for climate justice and inclusive coffee sustainability. And thank you so much for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
Let me put my video on so that you can see me. Can you see me? It's a little bit dark.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you all.
Hello. Thank you.
Dr.
Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye.
Bye, everyone.